Hello and good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to the latest online Springbank Kilkerran tasting, hosted by myself, David Allen, and Andrew Wallace from the sales team. If you're tuning in, please drop us a note to say where you're tuning in from. We've got a nice evening lined up, 6 of our latest releases, including the very limited edition Springbank Vintage. So well done to all of you who've managed to save it for tonight, maybe not opened it too early. So for those of you that haven't joined us before for this sort of thing, it's just me and Andrew going through the lineup in the same order as yourselves in the pack at home, and sharing a bit of distillery news and what's coming up and what we're doing. So, without further ado, are we going to jump in with dram number 1, Andrew, or have you got any updates you're going to crack on with?
No, I think that's a good place to start. Dram number 1. So yeah, we're going to get our little samples now.
Oh. Yeah, we've been sitting here. Only had one beer on a very hot Campbelltown summer's day.
The weather is pretty special here in Campbelltown at the moment. I think it's one of the hottest days of the year, quite frankly.
Everybody else is going to be really disappointed or unimpressed though when we say it was like a high of 25 degrees Celsius.
That's tops off weather. But yeah, so got the first dram of the evening is this bottle right here. This is Hazelburn. It's 7 years old. This is part of the Oloroso cask matured series. This was released in June. So last month it was released in June. It was bottled March 2026 at 47.9% ABV. There's 9,000 bottles of this ever produced, distilled in 2018, as I said, as a 7-year-old.
And if you think Andrew's really clever and remembered all that, he's just reading it off the front label.
Lots of prep work gone into this tasting anyway. But yeah, so as you can see in the glass, this is something very, very dark. Obviously a lot of sherry influence in here. Oloroso, 100% Oloroso casks used obviously in the Oloroso cask matured series. Predominantly fresh Oloroso, just a little bit of refill Oloroso in here. But Hazelburn, it's one of the 3 different spirit styles that we make at this distillery. So it's the Springbank distillery, but we make Hazelburn, which is our unpeated barley but triple distilled. And then we've got the Springbank single malt recipe, which is lightly peated, 2.5 times distilled. And then we've got the long row towards the middle of the tasting here, which is the heavily peated, only double distilled. So the one distillery making 3 very, very different styles, very different tasting whiskies anyway. When this was released last month, £76. So yeah, hope you managed to find a bottle of this. Cheers, Slange.
Slange. All those lovely, big, rich sherry notes coming through. And for those of you that know, the Hazelburn 10s are sort of standard range and generally done in 100% bourbon cask. So this is a nice variation of that. I think, importantly, the sherry doesn't overwhelm the lighter triple distilled character that Hazelburn has. It still retains that body, that oiliness, the Hazelburn DNA.
Hazelburn's just got such a massive punch to it anyway. It's so packed full of flavour, can handle big style casks. Yeah. There's a lot of, as it says in the tasting notes, maraschino cherries, bit of fudge, dates, brandy butter, but I get a touch of like the sort of cola syrup, a little bit of licorice in there as well. It's very meaty style of whiskey.
You get sort of ginger and icing. Somebody gets rhubarb, yeah, I would agree. Those sort of nice sort of red sort of fruits, bit of sort of vegetation.
Big time.
Would love to know if there's any plan with sherry with long row, maybe the 100 proof range. Good Good question. Nothing in the immediate future I can think of. 100 proof, we'll get onto that in due course, obviously. We sort of use red wine casks as the backbone for that. Hazelburn, I think it's important to note that we only do, it's only 10% of production, so I don't know if you already said that while I was reading comments. So it does make up quite a small amount of our production. Last year, our production at Springbank was 262,000 litres or something like that. That's litres of pure alcohol. So about 10% of that, 26,000 litres just for Hazelburn. And our production history has been a bit checkered when it comes to Hazelburn. And it's been quite difficult to maintain these age statements like the 10-year-old. But we have a good split now of Hazelburn that's maturing in bourbon and in sherry. And I think that contrast between the bourbon and the sherry for Hazelburn is a good idea.
Well, the casks that were older than 10 years old have been quite limited in the warehouses, as far as I'm aware. Anyway, I mean, so much so that the classic Hazelburn 10 years old, 46%, the 100% bourbon matured, sort of entry-level Hazelburn bottling in the portfolio, that went away for almost like 2 years or so. But we're just about to release a new batch of the Hazelburn 10 very soon.
That's right. As you can see, for those of you that haven't been here before, this is our distillery washback bar. So if you make the journey to Campbelltown, you can do your tour, you can visit the shop. You can also sit down and have a dram in the washback bar, where we've got a really good selection around the bar there and underneath the bar. Lots of interesting things, single cask bottlings, warehouse casks, some very old bottles, the proceeds of which go to local charity because were gifted to us for use in a charity tasting. So whatever wasn't used in the charity tasting is in the bottles behind the bar. So you can come down, have a few drams and contribute to charity as well if you needed any more reasons. We've got some lovely bar staff here who are more than happy to help serve. Hours 10 till 6.
Yeah.
Only Monday to Saturday for the time being.
It's a lovely food as well.
Yeah. What have we got? Fish platters, cheese platters, just perfect dramming food.
Some soup, I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
So, no, it's absolutely brilliant. And also as well, to actually speak about the pack, that hopefully a lot of people that have actually tuned into the live stream, you have a pack alongside you and you're going through all the drams like we are. But we released the packs. We did a bit of an early launch for the people that travelled all the way down to Campbelltown for the Campbelltown Malts Festival in May. And they were available in the shop here in Campbelltown for £40. £40 for 6 whiskies. High ABV whiskies, all of them, limited releases, every single one of them. I think £40 is pretty good value, to be honest.
Yeah, especially when it includes something like a 31-year-old Springbank. And the reason we do this is to try and share our very hard to find whiskies with you guys who I'm sure are Springbank fans, or maybe there's some of you that haven't tried Springbank before but find it very difficult to get access to the whiskey because it's high demand and relatively low supply. So this is a way of us sharing our whiskey with you, so you at least get the chance to try it and join in the conversation.
Yeah, like I say to a lot of people that are slightly disappointed that they don't get the chance to purchase every single bottle of every single limited release that comes out. You do get the chance to purchase one of these tasting packs, and you can say, oh, I've tried the 1994 vintage, or I've tried the Springbank 18, the Long Row 100 proof batch 2. So it's pretty good. Exactly. I like what we've been doing.
Yeah. Now, you touched upon the Malts Festival there, Andrew. It's a bit of a touchy subject in the sales team, because I wasn't here for it. That's like the one rule in Jane Mitchell, you're not allowed the week of the Malts Festival off, and I broke the rule. I had a very good friend of mine getting married abroad, which necessitated me travelling to Montenegro, of all places. I think he's into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or whatever they do over there. Had a lovely week over there, but felt very, very guilty about leaving all my esteemed colleagues with a very heavy week. But I hear you all enjoyed yourselves anyway.
We handled it.
Yeah.
What's your excuse for next year?
Oh, I'll find a cousin or something getting married in the Southern Hemisphere. No, I need to make it back, especially for the Kilkerran cocktail competition. I know Finlay Ross was deemed the winner this year. And I think it's his strawberry daiquiri. I'll be honest, wasn't very original, wasn't very innovative. So I'm already working away on ideas for my cocktail for next year's Kilkerran tasting, which is the last event we do on the Friday of the Malts Festival.
I'm just looking at the Instagram live comments here, and Marcy commented, "First fill Oloroso?" ? So we were looking up this earlier in the office. This particular whiskey is predominantly first fill, so fresh Oloroso. About 95% of it is fresh Oloroso, 5% refill Oloroso cask that we use. So mostly first fill anyway. And I think David touched on it a little bit, but this whiskey is 7 years old. In the Oloroso cask mature series, over the number of years that we've been doing it, they've been at different ages every single time, and they've typically been like 12 years old, 13, 15, there's another 12, it went up and down. This one's 7, and the last one we did was 8 years old, and I can let everyone know that the next one we're going to do is also an 8-year-old, so they have been a little bit younger, but it's just that case that the Hazelburn production has been quite sporadic over the years, and we're letting the cask sort of age on a bit anyway, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, the distillery's in a really good place now. Finlay Ross overseeing production. We've got a good production schedule, increased production in 2018, just really by simply employing more people. So we had a full-time malt team working alongside mashing and distilling, which has enabled more sort of production. Still 9 months of the year, production is at Springbank, with the last 3 months at Glengyle producing Kilkerran. So there's still room to expand. Ideally, one day we'll be at 12 months production at Springbank with a standalone team operating at Glengyle with Kilkerran. I see one of the comments, we're maybe slightly getting ahead of ourselves here. Will it really take 10 years to build a new malting floor at Glengyle Distillery? That seems to be your biggest bottleneck in production at both distilleries. I don't know where 10 years came from, I guess, but yeah, we've just built a massive new bottling and dispatch facility, so that's aged everybody considerably. So we'll kind of clear our feet from that project, and then look forward to what we can do at Glengyle. There's so much more potential for us to do there in terms of production and what we can do, but we'll get over to Glengyle towards the end of the tasting with the 8-year-old and the heavily peated, and we can talk a bit more in depth about that then.
Big time.
But maybe it's time we pop open dram number 2, the Springbank 18.
I would think so. Sounds good.
Oh, there we are. Now we've got 2 glasses, so I'm going to use my clean glass for the 18-year-old here. There we are. Nathan's doing his job. The picture's up on the screen in front of you. Well done, Nathan. He's got 17 minutes into the tasting, still has managed to not swear, which is always good. You can't see the hand gestures that Nathan is giving me right now, but you can imagine what they are. So the Springbank 18 is obviously 18 years old. We release it once a year. This last batch was January, February of this year. So usually a batch every 12 months, one batch. We don't really have a set recipe for Springbank 18. We have to use the casks that are available to us that are 18 years old and above. So we tend to just pick the best cask that we can find. We don't have warehouses of 18-year-old and above Springbank, so it's a bit difficult and a bit rigid to stay within a set recipe. So we use the best casks that we have, as I say. So this particular batch, just make sure I say the right thing, there's a mixture of bourbon, sherry, and a little bit of rum cask in there as well, whereas the previous batch I think was 100% bourbon. So some good batch variation with the 18-year-old. Like all our core bottlings, bottled at 46%, which is our standard bottling strength.
Do you see the price of this?
The price, I've got a note here, about £116 to £120 RRP in the UK. Obviously, that'll differ country to country with different taxes and shipping costs and things like that. But in the UK, if you're buying it from us anyway, that's the pricing. And this is a very difficult whiskey to find. We appreciate that. So again, a good reason to put it into the tasting pack, so you can at least try a 2CL. I think all these drams are. So a nice taster.
20 mils anyway. Yeah. First thing, as soon as I nose it, you can smell like the peat smoke coming through.
That's interesting, because I was actually just nosing this and thinking it's quite light and delicate, as you would expect, being 18 years old. And I just had a suddenly thought in my head, maybe, we put Hazelburn at the start of the tasting because it's non-peated, and then when you go in Springbank's lightly peated. So the natural order of things is to go from non-peated to lightly peated. But I actually thought, maybe we've done this round the wrong way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd say it's the right order, to be honest.
I think it makes the most logical sense going from Hazelburn then onto the Springbanks, the Longrow, and then onto the Kilkerran.
I think the small amount of rum casks in here are doing quite a lot of heavy hitting. There's a lot of, when I tried this whiskey for the first time in the office, I thought, bit of peat smoke in there, but lovely tropical notes. A lot of mango, pineapple, guava, all these, bit of like honeydew melon as well. I think the older Springbanks lean into those sort of stone fruits, tropical fruits, and I think that little bit of rum cask helps enhance that, certainly. Lots of sort of trail mix of coconut shaving, dried pineapple for me. Yeah, 100%. Got a question here from John McDonald on Instagram. Evening, gents. Didn't manage to get a tasting set. Are they still available? And last time that I checked at the start of this week, there were some tasting packs on cadenhead.shop. So you should be able to find them on cadenhead.shop, and it should still be available anyway, I would imagine. But they are still available in the shop here in Campbelltown. So you have to travel to Campbelltown to buy some tasting packs and some other whiskies.
Yeah, so you can come buy a tasting pack and enjoy a dram in the washback bar.
Yeah, exactly.
There we are. We're doing a good job representing the sales team and talking about selling things tonight, Andrew. Ruth Ashton Ward gets nuts and raisins and dried banana too. Yeah, I would agree with that. Gav Strams, that little bit of rum makes it. Bram loves the 18. Springbank Distillers, David thinks he is funny. That's from Nathan.
The mouthfeel of this dram is really, although it is the 46%, it doesn't feel like it's like watered down at all for me. It's really heavy and thick and oily. Sometimes you don't always have to have cast strength whiskies, quite frankly. No. To still get that body.
I think that's sometimes the thing that puts me off older whiskies is I quite like the young, amplified, robust whiskies where the flavours are really obvious. And obviously, as the whiskey ages, it becomes more nuanced, more delicate, and more expensive. So my preference is probably to go to the younger whiskies, but this is a good example, I think, of a Springbank at that older age with those notes that we talk about. A fine example of an older Springbank. Yeah. And yeah, it's not light, it still has the oiliness.
And the Springbank recipe, I touched on it at the start of the tasting. Springbank spirit recipe anyway is it's lightly peated barley. It's malted here in Campbelltown at our very own malting floors For your Hazelburn, your Springbank, or your Long Row, it's all malted here in Campbelltown. And the recipe for Springbank is that light peating. So it's around 10 to 15 ppm. So there's a very small hint of the peat smoke in the barley after malting. And after distillation, it's even less. After 18 years sitting in the cask, even less than that. But I can definitely taste it in here for myself anyway.
We've got a question. Any plans to release any Springbank cask releases in the future, Madeira, Burgundy, or something else? Well, we've been releasing different sherry matured Springbank on an annual basis. So we've got the last one to do, the Manzanilla cask, still to do. So that'll be the next one. And then that will continue. The limited releases will continue with different wood expressions, wood types is the plan. So we're always looking at the future and putting Springbank into interesting different cask types because we appreciate that you guys love the wood expressions, the different cask types, the variation. Obviously our core range is fantastic too, but it's always nice to do these projects. And the sherry series was a really interesting one to do because we hadn't really used those cask types for any sort of release before of any sort of scale. So we didn't really know how it's going to turn out. But thankfully, I think it's done a good job of representing the different sherry types pretty well and showcasing that style of whiskey and how the cask and the Springbank interacts. I still think we probably use the Oloroso for a reason. It's probably the most stable cask type from the sherry world to use. But still, the sherry series has been a very interesting project to do.
100%. I'm interested to hearing what yourselves and Finlay come up with for future releases anyway. I've got a comment from Jacob Morgan. Hello from Fife. We're planning on heading for the Barley to Bottle tour, which is great. Barley to Bottle is something that we do here in Campbelltown at the distillery. It's one of our premium tours anyway. £250 per person, but you see every inch of the distillery. You're given 3 of the oldest casks to try that we have on site. You get your lunch, and then you're into the back of the wash back into our blending lab, and you're literally creating your own blend of cask strength Springbank, 70 cl to take home. So I hope you enjoy yourselves. Anyway, cheers.
Is that a good segue onto the newly launched Jam experience? We've just done, yeah. So you may be aware you can find these things on our website. We do the Barley to Bottle tour. We do an Eat, Sleep, Dram, Repeat package where you stay at our accommodation. We sort of feed you and look after you, and you do various bits and pieces around the distillery in terms of tours, warehouse tastings, blend your own, and such forth. And we've added another experience onto that, which is the Jam experience, where you stay in your own sort of self-catering accommodation, which is essential. Oh, there's a very well placed picture of said accommodation. You're not bad at this, Nathan.
It's not too far away from Springbank, is it?
Yeah, it's literally on the doorstep of the distillery. So it sleeps up to 8 people. So 8 people can come down. There's a one-off fee for the house, and then each participant pays something towards their experience, which is things like Kilkerran warehouse tastings. I better not say too much because I'll probably get it wrong, but it's on our website. And that way you can have the house. If you are traveling with a partner who's not interested in whiskey, they don't have to pay for the whiskey experience part because it's already included in the house. So take a look at that. We've just opened the calendar for that.
Bookings available now.
Yeah, and I think it's one of these places. Campbelltown can be quite tricky to find accommodation. So we've got the accommodation sorted for you, and you're in staggering distance of the distillery.
Staggering distance, I like that. What I find quite interesting about the Springbank 18 this year for calendar year 2026, am I right in saying that there's going to be 2 versions of Springbank 18? So this one was released in January time, Is there one coming?
Yes, I suppose you're right, actually. So the next release will be within the first part of our financial year, which runs from 1st of August to 31st of July. So this was done within the current financial year, and the next one will be the new financial year, which is in the same calendar year.
Yeah, it's just the way it works out sometimes.
So yeah, normally we do an August-September release of Springbank 18, but I think bond dates necessitated the later release of this batch. So we're sort of getting back into the sort of sort of calendar month of release for ourselves.
Yeah, because the 2024 version was 100% bourbon, which got incredible feedback, and especially with the Springbank purists, they just love all bourbon cask. And then this one, there was no Springbank 18 for calendar year 2025. This one came out in January 2026, and then you're going to see the next one in August-ish time. Late summer, anyway.
I think I might have seen this in the comments. Somebody described this as sort of ashy, perhaps in the finish, and I definitely get that sort of damp ash combined with those sort of tropical fruits. A fantastic nuanced whiskey, Springbank 18. So you don't have to wait too long for the next batch. Anyway, as Andrew says, it won't be 12 months. It'll be more like 8 months between two.
I'm looking at comments on Instagram as well. Got someone from Korea. I went to Springbank in Campbelltown 2023. What was really good about these tasting packs, selling them online, they could reach the other side of the world. So
it must be very late with you in Korea. So well done for staying up late.
Thank you for tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Is that maybe time to move on to the next one?
I think so, yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'm going to pour a slightly older Springbank into my glass. So dram number 3 of the tasting, this bottle right here. This is the Springbank Vintage 1994. This just came out last month. 1,180 bottles of this were available. All of the casks used were distilled in 1994. It's a combination of multiple different casks. 80% of this recipe was in ex-bourbon, 10% of the recipe was in ex-sherry, and then the final 10% in red wine casks. And then it was bottled at 45.1% ABV. Retail on this bottle was £1,000 in the UK, and you're tasting it in this pack with 5 other whiskies for £40. So I would say that's pretty good value, as I said before. Anyway, let's have a little nose and taste.
Well, it's old school Springbank, isn't it? It's like, hey, well, I better not deviate from our notes in the
official tasting notes.
Tropical fruit, dried pineapple, dry mango, yeah, honey, yeah.
It's the earthiness for me on the nose straight away.
Very much feels like it's come out from these casks have come from the sort of deepest, farthest corner of the Dunnage warehouse.
Yeah. Which is a good thing to speak about. Like at the distillery here, we have 8 different warehouses. 5 of them are the earthy floors, the Dunnage style, the Casa racked 3 high, old traditional warehousing style in Scotland. But yeah, when a cask is sitting in one of these warehouses for 30 plus years, the whiskey inside starts imparting all of these earthy, musty, Dunnagey sort of characters onto the dram, and you can really taste it in here. Anyway, doesn't sound like the best tasting notes in the world, quite frankly.
It's quite if you hopefully there's no sort of Google translating to this tastes like mud.
Yeah. But it's part of the overall sort of ensemble of the dram.
Ensemble? Oh, somebody's had a few drams.
Also, as well, when our whiskies get 20-year-old plus, 30-year-old, tropical fruits are really coming through. A lot of those pineapples and mangoes, I would say.
Yeah, I think there was hints of that in the 18, and they are now really coming through to the fore in the vintage here. Which, incidentally, if you buy a bottle of this in the US market, it won't be called Springbank Vintage. I think it's just called Springbank 31 because the TTB, the sort of alcohol tax, tobacco tax regulators who look after the whiskey label regulations in the US, didn't want vintage on a bottle of Scotch whiskey in case it confused those who buy wine. So the vintage is normally associated with wine. So it's a bit of a strange one. The previous edition of the vintage got through okay, and then this time they said no and threatened to remove all the previous editions from shelves. But thankfully they'd already sold through, so we didn't need to go through that saga. So if you're in America and you're a bit sort of confused about what you see, it's just the same liquid, same bottle, slightly different variation on the label.
Yeah. It's a 31-year-old Springbank that you're tasting in the glass tonight. Absolutely beautiful.
I think, we're getting a lot of those fruits coming through in the taste notes. People are putting on lime, guava, papaya, mangosteen, dried herbs. A mineral note. I think that mineral note is certainly something I get. Yeah, Ruth guava mixed with sea earthy breeze was stood on the lagging on the wet day. Yeah, it's got that dampness.
Comment here: is the grape region known for the 10% red wine? What would you say, David?
What was that? Sorry.
So do we know where the red wine casks have come from, basically?
No, not. I mean, we're good nowadays at knowing the provenance of casks and things like that, but the notes, which were associated with the casks from 10, 15 years ago, 15 years plus ago, let alone 30, 31 years ago, they were more sort of simpler and would just say red wine, rum, or whatever like that. So no, we don't know the provenance of the red wine cask, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's a comment here, Signatory has a line called Vintage, so that is a bit confusing. Probably not also helped by a very similar logo.
Lots of S's.
Yeah.
Speaking about the bottle design, or the design of the vintage series, I thought it was a brilliant idea last year to bring back this sort of the gold label for the vintage series with the circular gold foil, because that's sort of harkening back to an old series, the Springbank, Hazelburn and Longrow, Rundlets and Kilderkins. We used that. Was that in the mid 2010s or so? That series came out.
Yeah, so 2012, 13, 14, or that kind of those sort of 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and it went away for a while, but we brought it back for the vintage. I just think it looks absolutely brilliant. And the box as well has got a hole in the box so you can actually see the gold label.
So it's just the box. I mean, you had a debate whether it should be on the table or not before. Yeah.
That's a lovely box that it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely stunning. Yeah, maybe we should explain why we brought out the vintage last year. It was last summer we brought out the 1998 vintage. That was the first one in the series anyway. But why did we do this?
Yeah, I suppose it's essentially replaced the 25-year-old that we did for many years, or a few years at least. And what we found, in order to try and maintain the 25-year-old age statement, we were using older parcels of whiskey, and we thought that just seemed a bit crazy. Potentially using a 31-year-old whiskey for your 25, or maybe you'd use that for your 30 and the 30 for the 25, I don't know. But you can see the issues we were having here. We didn't have a steady stream of whiskey coming of age at 25, 26 year after year. So we thought, let's put these parcels of whiskey together under the vintage format, and it's just some nice variation and obvious batch variation and batch identifiers by having the vintage on it. So I think it's we don't like to keep things steady for too long. We always like mixing things up, don't we, at Springbank, whether it's labels or whatever. So 25-year-olds that have been knocked in the head for the foreseeable, replaced with the vintage.
Yeah. And the 25-year-old series was done at 46% ABV, than our standard bottling strength. The vintage series, as far as I know, is always going to be at that cask strength.
It's cask strength, which is a good point, as this one's sitting at 45.1%. We've not reduced that. That is the cask strength, and it's dropped significantly lower than, the cask would have been filled at, assume, 16.5%, and it's dropped now down to 45.1%. So just as well we're bottling it this year, because we're to wait more years, potentially be dropping towards 40 or below, which is no good to anyone.
We touched on it a little bit earlier in the live stream, but the bottling hall, you said it's aged quite a lot of people when it was built, but I think there's still been a few teething issues and things.
Yeah, very much so. So for those of you that were here during the Malts Festival, not me, you might have come along to the grand opening of the bottling hall. Oh, Nathan's on the ball again. There's a picture of our chairman with the staff in the bottling hall. And that was the culmination, I think, of a project, potentially 18 months in duration, but now bottling more cases of whiskey than we've historically been able to do in the previous facility, and it's made things in some ways will make things a lot easier when all the sort of usual teething problems are ironed out. We have all our casks coming into one end, being vatted, going through the same sort of bottling process as was in the old bottling hall, and then rather than being wheeled from one end of the site to the other, dispatched really off the end of the line, straight out. So making things, dare I say, efficient on a sort of J&A Mitchell Springbank level, and also freeing up the old bottling hall to become converted back into a dunnage warehouse, and some other warehousing for dry goods and stuff gets freed up to go into dunnage warehouses as well. So still ongoing teething problems, but they're slowly but surely being ironed out.
Yeah.
And it's a significant investment from the company, I think, into the future of the company. It's certainly for what the Countdown collection has been, funds have been used to go towards. So it's not like any money we're making is going into buying supercars or super yachts. Although I've seen Cameron McGake's new Audi. Just saying.
A new supercar.
Yeah. It's everything we're making has been reinvested back into the distillery. And there's lots of things going on. New sales office being built for the sales team. So rather than being down in Bolgham Street, we'll be up here in the heart of operations.
September time, hopefully.
Yes, so that's not really far away, is it?
No.
Almost see it out the doorway there.
Yeah.
As well as a sprinkler on top of the casks, which is quite an odd sight for anybody that comes to visit. When we have this dry weather, we have our production manager, Gavin, going around sprinkling or hosing down, watering the casks just so they don't dry out and crack in the hot weather.
But yeah, also speaking about the bottling hall, I think it's something that we've desperately needed now that we've increased production in terms of how many litres we make at both distilleries as well. So it's something for the future, as you were talking about. But Springbank Distillery, in terms of litres of alcohol, basically output every single year, before 2018, it was around 100,000 litres or so.
120, yeah.
Yeah, and then after 2018, it's jumped up to 260,000. But that's not with making any sort of changes in the process or the recipe. That's hiring more people and doing things with more hands, quite frankly. And we've been able to get production up to 260,000 at this distillery. And then Kilkerran, we were making around 45,000. It's jumped up to over 90, about 92, 93,000 per year. And that's been consistent since 2018. So need more place to store casks, and we need a bigger facility to bottle more whiskey for the future. So I hope everyone is enjoying this.
I'm just looking at some comments now. Yeah, fruity notes are less dominant on my palate. The earthy dunnage and wet moss and petrichor. Don't know what that is. Petrichor very forward on the finish. Long tropical fruit notes linger forever. Yeah, good. I think those sort of long tropical fruit notes, that mineral note, certainly comes through. Is that what we have in our official notes? Caramelized lemon, meringue, custard cream, mango, and pineapple. Yep. You're consistent. Finish earthy, smooth, bramble notes. Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with our notes.
There's another question in the Instagram comments, guys. Why the 1994? Why the mix? The rationale? And I guess with this series, the vintage series in general, like the first one came out last year. It was 1998 vintage. It was technically a 26-year-old, but it was 100% Oloroso sherry casks that were used in that particular batch. And then this one, the vintage year has changed. It's 1994. It's that 80% bourbon, 10% sherry, 10% red wine mix. This is how much batch variation we're going to do with this series. The year of the vintage is going to change. The mixture of bourbon, sherry, red wine, different cask types is going to change every single time that we do it. So it's literally a case of we're not a massive distillery, and I think you touched on it before. We're literally at we're relying on the casks that are still available in the warehouses that have survived for, in this case, 31 years in one of the warehouses in Campbelltown. It's a long time to be maturing. We're just relying on what's left and trying to blend together and come up with a very tasty mix. So
yeah, you say these older expressions an absolute privilege to put together, but there's a lot of pressure, I suppose, in putting them together because you don't have warehouse full of casks from 1994 or whatever. You've got quite a small pool of casks that you're using. You're trying to make something that stands up to the exclusivity, the price tag that's probably going to be opened between a group of whiskey enthusiast friends or on a special occasion such as a marriage or birth of a child or something. So yeah, we take it very seriously, the job of putting these older expressions, all the whiskies, but especially these older expressions together. So hopefully you agree.
Yeah, it's probably a good time to move on to the next whiskey, I would say.
So we're jumping on to over to the Longrow 100 proof. So Longrow, first distilled in 1973. It's the more heavily peated expression that we produce at Springbank, where Springbank's 2.5 times distilled. Longrow is just a double distilled, where we use the middle still as the final still, which includes the worm tub to enhance that kind of heavier character that we're going for Longrow. The name Longrow comes from a historical distillery that our old bottling hall is said to be part of the Longrow distillery, and also if you come to Springbank, you generally exit off Longrow up the close from Longrow. So there's an association there. The standard Longrow we do is a Longrow is a non-age statement. Fine example of Longrow. The 100 proof is a bit different, whereas standard Longrow is 46%. The 100 proof is 57.1%. So if you're in America, you have a different proof system. So your 100 proof will be 114 proof, but it's exactly the same liquid, same bottle, everything like that, just a slight variation on the label. And essentially, this is replacing the Longrow Red series that we did, where we used red wine casks to mature Longrow. We kind of felt like we had sort of completed that, but we still have lots of red wine casks in our warehouses with Longrow. We appreciate that you guys quite like Longrow and red wine casks, so we thought, well, let's keep using red wine casks as the backbone for this Longrow 100 proof. So for those of you that are missing out or looking for the next Longrow Red, you need to look at the Longrow 100 proof for that. So this is batch number 2 that you're trying. So the first batch was
Refill Pinot.
Yeah, from I assume 12 months ago. This batch is more sort of Rioja casks. We don't really specify the cask type on it because we don't want to get too bogged down in the specifics of the red wine cask. We just want to use whatever is available and works with that red wine and the sort of long row balance that complements each other.
57.1% ABV. Sometimes with red wine, it's far too harsh and overpowering with the tannin, but this doesn't have that at all for me. I think it's so fruity.
As a man after, or a woman after my own heart, long run red wine casks name a more iconic duo. Will there be 18 this year? So I would agree with you, but I also think long run red is a Marmite whiskey where some people absolutely detest red wine going anywhere near whiskey, and generally I wouldn't disagree with that. Out of our own whiskies, Springbank and Hazelburn and Longrow, I think Longrow is the one that really, really works well with red wine. Just that combination of the sort of campfire embers, the smoky ashiness of the Longrow, and the sort of red wine, the sort of red fruit berries and the sort of tannin kind of leathery note that you get, just really, really complements each other really well.
There's maybe a reason why you don't see too much Hazelburn matured in red wine versus you see a lot of Longrow matured in red wine, because it's a big flavour.
I'm frantically racking my brain right now to wonder if we actually have we're due to do like a Hazelburn red wine release in like two or 3 years time or something. I don't think we are.
But yeah, so fresh Rioja cask in this batch number 2. As I said, a lot of the red wine sort of flavour in here, but not too overpowered by any tanniny notes. Really fruity, a lot of red berries, a lot of blackberries, a lot of sort of pomegranate seed for me as well. Nice ashy campfiriness from the peat smoke coming through.
Yeah, sort of tobacco, or like a tobacco box.
Yeah.
Lots of leather.
Barbecue sort of meatiness as well.
Quite sort of fruity and savoury as well.
Yeah, love this one. Price tag in a bottle when this came out, so that would have been at the start of this year, January time when we did the UK launch, it was about £60 or so. So hopefully you managed to pick one up. The next one in the series, batch number 3, it's going to be Californian Napa Valley red wine, isn't it? So.
Yeah, we've certainly got some Longrow maturing in Napa Valley wine casks, so I'm sure some of those will make their way into the next batch number 3. And I guess we learn from you guys. We have put batch numbers on the Longrow 100 proof series because I think you guys like it. Traditionally we've made it very difficult for you to identify batch, as you have to go by the ABV, but when the ABV is consistently 57.1, we have to help you out a little bit rather than like a bottling code or something printed at the bottom. So we're putting batch numbers on these. Iron Brew, Humbugs, Wildfires, Haggis, yes.
Iron Brew, that's
great. I like the Wildfires and Haggis and Hope.
Oh, maybe a good time to do a little bit of a roundup of the Malts Festival as well. Obviously, you'll not be able
I'll leave this one up to you then, Andrew. Yeah.
About that.
I think it's just like the 3rd or 4th time we've already brought up the Malts Festival in this taster alone.
It's just happened in May. I think it's good to talk about it, to be honest. But Malts Festival is the last full week in May, and massive celebration of all things Campbelltown whiskey. Nowadays, it's basically the whole week for us, from Monday to Saturday. There's things going on between Springbank, Kilkerran, Cadenheads, our friends over at Glen Scotia as well.
What whiskey?
What whiskey, of course. Yeah. So we kick-started the week with the charity barbecue on the Monday night here in the Washback. Peter Grieve supplies 6 absolutely beautiful whiskies and barbecue alongside that, some steaks, some local seafood. Excellent tasting. Never quite made it to that tasting, never got an invite for that tasting, but see what happens.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, those bottles are the remainders of those bottles that weren't drunk at the charity barbecue. Peter Grave's bottles are in the bar here, in that sort of central column there. So get yourself to Campbelltown and come and try them. They're really, once in a lifetime drams, I think.
100%.
Not many bottles from Springbank of that era that are actually open and available.
Unicorn sort of whiskies anyway. And then we always do our Springbank Society tastings on the Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday this year, complimentary Springbank Society tastings. It went down an absolute treat. Thank you for the picture there, Nathan. That looks great. This year we did a blind tasting challenge. So I put 6 different whiskies in front of people, give them a tasting mat and said you have to fill out which expression. So Hazelburn, Springbank, Long Row. You have to guess an age, guess a cask type, guess the ABV as well, and see who the winner was at the end of the tasting. So that was the society tastings. From there, we did local barley farm tours as well in Campbelltown, which we just started the year previous. There's a lovely picture of the guys on the local barley farm tour. So literally picking people up in a mini bus that takes 15 people from the gates of the Springbank distillery. And then we travelled around the local Kintyre area, going from farm to farm to have a look where some of the fields that we've grown the local barley from, anyway, which is pretty cool. And also trying some different local barley expressions and cask samples, literally at the fields. Was a cool experience as well. Yeah. From there, the open days as well. So on the Thursday we have the Springbank open day here at the Springbank distillery, and then on the Friday we have the Kilkerran open day, celebrating everything Springbank on the Thursday, everything Kilkerran on the Friday, and then all of the Cabin Heads tastings sprinkled through the week. So if you've never managed to come to Campbelltown for the Campbelltown Malts Festival, I would highly recommend it. It's just a week absolutely packed to the brim with tastings, trying exclusive whiskies, cask samples. It's
always spectacular weather, isn't it?
always,
just
always.
Like now, yeah. Without fail.
Yeah.
Good. I like the Archer 7861's note. Nose does a good job for concealing its maritime character, but eventually it reveals it, allowing notes of salt sprayed pebbles, salty sea spray, and warm machine oil to make an appearance. Warm machine oil. I think I get that kind of sort of dirtiness, which is an odd taste note for a whiskey, but for me it's a positive tasting note.
Got a question. Are the 2028 festival dates already known? Unfortunately, I don't have the 2028 dates on hand, but next year is Monday the 24th to Saturday the 29th. And I know that I was looking at it right before the tasting because I knew this would come up at some point. So Monday the 24th to Saturday the 29th for 2027. That's what we're looking at anyway.
Yeah, and 2020 is obviously a pertinent year. It's going to be our 200th anniversary. So rest assured, we will be putting on a party or parties. We'll be celebrating 200 years in style.
Year-long party.
I don't see why not, yeah. Our tourism and events team have got their work cut out. But yeah, we intend to make that a very huge, momentous year, quite rightly so, for a big, momentous landmark anniversary for the distillery. We really need to get our sort of thinking caps on and keep planning. We've already started some sort of planning towards it, but we have lots more work to do.
It's really early doors anyway, early stages of planning for 2028.
see who for Kilkerran's 20th anniversary, we got Travis and the Red Hot Chili Pipers and Fling, of course, locally. So I think, Kilkerran 20th versus Springbank 200th, we need to really...
You've set the bar already quite high.
We need to go up from there, yeah. So we've challenged ourselves, but we'll do it.
Exactly. Is that time to move on to the next whiskey?
I'd say so, yeah.
Let me get a little bottle here. Try not to destroy the set while I'm doing it. So everyone, dram number 5 on your tasting. This is the Kilkerran 8-year-old cask strength. This one was bottled and released rather at the start of this year. So it was released in January of 2026. 57.7% ABV. Kilkerran 8-year-old cask strength series. This is another bourbon, exclusively bourbon matured version of the Kilkerran 8-year-old. Kilkerran is the whiskey. It's a single malt from our sister distillery. So this is the Springbank distillery that we're at right now here in Campbelltown at the Washback Bar. But about 300 meters in that direction over there is the Glengyle distillery that makes Kilkerran single malt. And this is just one of the whiskies in the portfolio of Kilkerran. If you tried Kilkerran before, you most likely tried the 12-year-old. It's at 46%. But we do this slightly younger 8-year-old cask strength. And for me, bang for buck, when we released this whiskey, it's around £62 in the UK, RRP. This is just exactly what the character of the distillery is for me. The spirit style, exclusively in bourbon, you're just tasting what the Kilkerran spirit sort of unadulterated is. A lot of shortbready notes, a lot of, for me, Kilkerran in bourbon, there's so much lemon as well. I'll see if I get it from this dram. So, yeah,
the thing I take away from the 8-year-old versus the 12-year-olds, I always find the 8-year-old is almost like brings out the 12-year-old notes, but they're more amplified, more vibrant, more obvious. And again, kind of going back to my own personal taste, the sort of younger, more obvious notes, younger whiskies with their more obvious notes. I like them for that reason. There's sort of less thinking to do. Yeah, it's really vibrant, isn't it?
It's very sweet, isn't it? It's got a lot of banana.
Custard creams, apple butter, I see we've got here.
Yeah, we've got our tasting notes that we can reference as well.
I'm going to not look at those and just do my own tasting notes and see if they match.
But what I find is really interesting about the Glengyle distillery nowadays is that it actually makes 4 different styles of recipe, different tasting whiskies at the one distillery. Springbank makes 3, your Hazelburn, Springbank single malt, the Long Row single malt. But Glengyle, Kilkerran, there's 4 different styles. So we make 1 week, for the 12 weeks that we're actually in production at this sister distillery of the year, it runs from October time to December. The first week is for Kilkerran unpeated but double distilled. And then we'll do 3 weeks worth of Kilkerran heavily peated double distilled. We'll do 7 weeks worth of the normal Kilkerran that you're tasting right now. The standard Kilkerran it's lightly peated barley that's came from the malt floors at Springbank. Same recipes, the peating level is your Springbank malted barley. So lightly peated barley, but only double distilled. And then the final 12th week before we break up for the Christmas holidays here in Campbelltown is it's lightly peated barley, but triple distillation. So I always find that really interesting. Much less time overall spent at this distillery, but 4 different styles of whiskey that we make there. So
yeah, I think it seems to be the typical Jane A. Mitchell way of doing things, isn't it? We're not just content with having a single distillery producing Springbank 2.5 times distilled. We introduce triple distilled, double distilled, heavily peated, non-peated. Then lots of different wood expressions, wood types, things like that. So I think it's no bad thing that we sort of replicate that with Kilkerran.
Touching on Kilkerran triple distilled is a good opportunity to speak about that.
Yeah, well, perfect segue into the Kilkerran range. So Andrew said we have our sort of 12-year-olds, the sort of flag bearer for the distillery. It's really the flagstone. Everything else is built around. We then brought out the 8-year-old cask strength. We do a single release a year. Sometimes it's a sort of double batch release. The 16-year-old, of course. And later on this year, we're planning to a triple distilled Kilkerran. Now, many of you may have tried the Kilkerran triple distilled from 2006. We have a variety of casks filled them, and they are almost used up. We've used them for open days and malt festivals and things like that. Really now they're only available if you come and do the Kilkerran warehouse tasting. It's one of the casks where you get to try 6 different Kilkerrans, and you have the opportunity of buying bottles from those casks afterwards if you like the whiskey. But we realised we were running out of 2006 triple distilled. So we decided to start making triple distilled again from 2018. We started in triple distilled. So
2006 and then 2018.
Yeah, nothing in between. Yeah, it's a very Janie Mitchell way of doing things. But here we are where we are. But the early indications, we obviously like it enough to bottle it. And have you had it in any tastings or anything like that yet?
I've been using a cask sample of Kilkerran, the young Kilkerran triple distilled 7-year-old from 2018 on a bunch of tastings around the UK, and it's went down a treat.
Yeah. So the consumer tests have been going well as the the Springbank sales team, Kilkerran sales team. We're going to launch that later on, and it's a nice bit of variation for all the Kilkerran fans, and I think it's good from a sort of sales and marketing point of view to have sort of a broad shelf presence. If you can have a few different SKUs on the shelf, gives you more of a presence. So that's where we are. So that'll be a sort of annual release, something to look forward to.
When's that coming out?
Later on this year.
Cool. Giving you the bare minimum information. I hope everyone's enjoying this Kilkerran 8-year-old cask strength. So obviously this is the 2026 version that we're trying, released in January time, only bourbon cask. But I know for next year, the 8-year-old cask strength series is there's going to be a bourbon batch, and there's also going to be a sherry batch, is what I've seen. So look out for that in 2027.
I'm getting a lot of those sort of fruit and in the finish, those sort of damp, ashy notes. 8-year-old and 12-year-old Kilkerran peated to the same level, but those phenols haven't sort of dissipated as much at 8 years old, so still a bit more visible in the whiskey.
Any questions?
Yeah, this is not relevant to the sampling bottles, but how is Campbelltown Lock blended malt created and vatted? Sure. Campbelltown Lock is created by us here at the distillery. We use our own casks with Springbank, Kilkerran, Longrow, and Kilkerran. A fair bit of Kilkerran unpeated actually in there, and casks of Glen Scotia that go in there. So it's made up of the 5 malts of Campbelltown go in there. So it's a very genuine expression of a Campbelltown blended malt. It's not quite available in every market across the world, but it's sort of getting there, and it's an accessible whiskey, 45 to 50 pounds a bottle. We've tried to in reasonable volume to make sure that it's present. So if you can't find a Springbank and Kilkerran, you should hopefully find a Campbelltown Lock. So it ticks quite a few boxes. My only gripe about Campbelltown Lock is on the label we have an animal, a bird, and normally if you're into marketing and design, you'd have an albatross or an eagle or something cool, a bird of prey. But we've gone for the seagull because that's obviously what visits Campbelltown Loch. But despite the seagull on the label, I think it's a very good whiskey.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. Maybe a good time to also speak about the upcoming Kilkerran tour that we've got for the rest of the year in Germany.
Yeah, so you're newly married and deciding to go to Germany for a Kilkerran tour.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so we're doing a Kilkerran tour of Germany, August, September, and October. I think we've got 5 dates in August. September and October still to be confirmed. Our importer, Hanseatische, are lining this up. If you go onto their website, they've got all the dates for the August tour anyway on there, more information. And it's a chance for us to showcase Kilkerran. We're taking some warehouse cask samples there, some upcoming releases, and a sort of exclusive Kilkerran tour bottling as well, which is in this time round in Germany is going to be a 14-year-old bourbon matured Kilkerran, so something a bit different. So yeah, we're going to be busy, or Andrew's going to be busy in Germany, and we hope to replicate that throughout the rest of the world. So yeah, if you are watching and want a Kilkerran tasting tour in your market, drop us a line, and we will. The aim is to go out and share these whiskies as far and wide as possible. So let us know where you are, where you want to sample Kilkerran, and we will hopefully come to you.
Just to reiterate what David's just said there, comment below if you want to see a Kilkerran tour in your country, and hopefully we manage to do that in the future. Anyway,
hopefully it's a country that we actually export to. It's kind of hard to justify a tour somewhere we don't, but we have done it before. Iceland being one.
Yeah, I've been on a tasting to Iceland because you were busy.
Yeah, we've got Belgium. Yes, will you come to Whiskey Life in Hamburg? I don't think we'll be in Whiskey Life Hamburg. But we want to get out and I suppose earn our salaries, really. Yeah. That's what the job is, isn't it?
Exactly. Oh, I've got the comments coming in now. Small reroute to Switzerland. Singapore, please. Come to London.
Please come to the US and especially Texas with the Kilkerran tour.
Speaking about the US, I'll be coming to the US this year in last week of September, start of October, flying into Los Angeles, and then we go to Las Vegas, go to Reno, go to Colorado, and then fly back home. So it's more of a West Coast trip. But I think you're going to the US as well later this year at some point.
That's right. We've got somebody asking about San Francisco. I should be in San Francisco mid-September. So keep an eye out there. Hopefully doing some consumer tastings.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring the Kilkerran tour to England, please. That's a good point. Talking about worldwide tours, what's on our doorstep. Yeah.
Ruth, Ashton Ward, come to Dallintober for a tour.
It's far too far. We don't go to that side of the town.
Come to Toronto, Hong Kong. It's amazing. Vancouver. It's amazing to see how much love there is for Kilkerran. So thank you so much for that, guys.
Greg's Whiskey Guide, can you please answer my question about the Springbank 5-year-old 100 proof, gentlemen? Will it continue to be released? Yeah. The 5-year-old 100 proof is establishing itself as a core product, being bottled 4 times a year in the same way that Springbank 10, Long Roll, Kilkerran 12 was bottled sort of 4 times a year, and should be widely available in that regard. Greg's Whiskey, I think you're France-based, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So there should be 4 shipments a year going to France with lots of 5-year-old 100 proof. So hopefully it's making its way
You'll be able to taste a Springbank 5-year-old 100 proof in Paris, Salon du Gain. I think that's in September time, isn't it? So
I think it is, yeah.
We'll be there again this year.
And the best thing about the 5-year-old 100 proof is that it's all 100% bourbon matured. So it was nice to introduce something into the Springbank core range that was exclusively bourbon matured. As you'll appreciate, everything else in the core range is either sherry or a mixture of bourbon and sherry. The 18-year-old sometimes ends up 100% bourbon, as does the 12-year-old, but the 5-year-old 100 proof will be consistently bourbon matured, and the aim is to capitalise on the additional 2018 production years and beyond, and make that widely available, again helping address the supply and demand issues that we know are an issue.
Fair enough. Is that time to move on to the final whiskey?
I think so, yeah. So on to Kilkerran heavily peated.
Really enjoy this job when this is my Thursday night after work. This is technically work.
It's not bad, is it? Yeah.
Have a few drams in the washback bar.
Bit different from our start today when we were crawling up into attic spaces above the production office looking for old sales ledgers and documents and things like that to sort of pull together for an archivist who's going to sort of come down and look through this stuff, and we're going to really try and cement some proper archival history. Again, leading up to the 200 year anniversary of Springbank. So
another thing to look out for in the 2028 year.
Yes, So I don't want to give too much away, but you can expect something then.
In the office yesterday, in the sales team office, I was just writing out emails and things, and then David said, Andrew, David Wood, get on your shorts and t-shirt tomorrow and come into the office, and we'll crawl through the attic looking for old documents and things. So that was an interesting day today.
Yes, that was dust masks and lots of stew.
Head torch. Lamp.
Felt like a Victorian chimney sweep at one point. Not that I was getting any sympathy from my colleagues. Anyway, so on to Kilkerran heavily peated. So as the name suggests, this is the heavily peated itineration from Kilkerran. It started off as an experiment where we had Kilkerran as lightly peated, sort of 10 to 15 parts per million. We decided to give the production team a bit of a challenge and try and make some really, really heavily peated malt that we could use for Kilkerran. We don't want to use it for long row because that's well established and is what it is, but Kilkerran we have a bit more freedom to experiment. So I think the first batch they managed to continually dampen down the kiln and put sort of damp Hessian sacks on just to get lots of damp smoke passing through the barley bed, and it measured at 84 parts per million. We released that. Batch one was essentially 3.5 years old, and we now release 2 batches a year, sort of every 6 months, almost like a Solera system. So there's some of the previous batches coming into the newer batches. So it's a non-age statement, and does a good job of showcasing Kilkerran's heavily peated character. Predominantly bourbon, which for me is great. I think something like 80-90% bourbon, 10 or 20% sherry cask typically, and cask strength as well. This particular batch, 58.3%, so high ABV.
Very punchy, especially with the peat smoke.
Yeah. And it kind of makes sense. We've noticed we have there's a 10-year-old Kilkerran heavily peated Kilkerran from the Kilkerran Warehouse tasting, which I think will be in the tasting tour in Germany. Those phenols have dampened down quite a lot, so the peat's quite subdued. But when you add in these younger Kilkerran casks, it really helps elevate that sort of smokiness.
Yeah, there's a question on Instagram: is it planned to release the heavily peated also with age statements? But I can kind of speak for why we don't do this series with an age statement. It's because we're now using multiple different years in a batch.
Yeah.
So there might be 4-year-old whiskey mixed with 5-year-old, mixed with 6, mixed with 7 years old. And then by the regulations in Scotland, if you wanted to put an age statement on the front, you must call it by the youngest casks of whiskey that are in there. So let's just say in this Kilkerran heavily peated example, 4-year-old mixed with 5, mixed with 6, mixed with 7, we would have to call it a 4-year-old whiskey, but there is older whiskey in there. So that's kind of why we don't do it anyway. But it is younger whiskey, quite frankly, for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a good showing of, I think using Finley's sort of Solera system, there'll be some of that very earliest batch still circulating through. And then right up to the sort of younger sort of 3-4-year-old whiskey in there too. And then, unrestricted by age statements as well.
So this batch 14 came out last month in the June release, £50 roughly in the UK for a bottle. As David said, around that 90% bourbon, 10% sherry mixture. So hope you're enjoying this one, guys.
Yeah. And again, we've made this easier for everyone by putting the batch number on the back label as well. And for me, the heavily peated descriptor for some people will be off-putting if you're not into peat, but I would absolutely implore you to try this. This is, for us, heavily peated, but the peat is very sort of soft and gentle. It's not the dominant note. It's quite well integrated with the sort of shortbreads and melons, the sort of fruity notes, the sugary notes. It's almost like, and again, the higher ABV sort of enhances some of those notes. So for me, it's sort of closer to the 8-year-old cask strength than maybe the 12-year-old.
That's why I always say to people on tastings is heavily peated for us at the company, but maybe not the most heavily peated whiskey in the entire world. So that's a good point that David's talking about. Don't be put off by the name heavily peated anyway. It's a good punch of peatiness, just a good level.
And maybe, not to let the cat out the bag, and maybe because I've had 6 mostly cask strength drams, maybe we're going to do some rebranding of the Kilkerran heavily peated and frame it differently, because I think, heavily peated either puts people off or sets up an expectation where they're looking for something more like akin to Octomore, and it's not that. It's very much Kilkerran, so we need to try and market it as such.
Yeah,
but I'm very positive feedback on the comments.
What are people saying?
I really enjoyed the heavily peated batch with 5% rum. Lovely. Some taste notes here from Manueladon 3542. Burnt honey, stewed grapefruit, ashy campfire. Ashy campfire, yeah, absolutely. Old leather chair, burnt toast, yeah. Heavily peated, my favourite this evening from Not a Dug Yug. Ruth Ashton Ward. Love this heavily peated.
Love that, Ruth. Excellent. There's another topic of conversation to speak about, the merchandise site that we've not touched on tonight. You might want to have a wee go at that one.
Yeah, we've been a bit discreet about our online merchandise. For those of you in the society, we gave you a proper heads up and you bought lots of merchandise off our website. Since discreetly put it on to the website, you have to go looking through it in the menu, drop down to find merchandise. But it's there, so we just kind of thought it was a bit silly that we didn't have things like t-shirts and caps and glasses and things and pin badges for sale, because it's quite difficult to send alcohol now, especially after Brexit. Even to send alcohol to Europe's difficult, let alone the rest of the world. But send a t-shirt is easier to do.
Yeah.
So we appreciate not everybody can make it to Campbelltown to buy a Springbank or t-shirt or cap.
Baseball cap.
Exactly. And so we've put our merchandise on our website, so feel free to go on and purchase some merchandise, t-shirts, pin badges, caps, socks, great socks.
Maybe Nathan can find a link and post it somewhere for everyone to have a little look. That might make sense. Appreciate it, Nathan. Sorry for putting you on the spot there.
You get thumbs up, I get the V's.
Tell them that.
Yes, that'll keep our mail order department nice and busy. I understand the rules and regulations for shipping to the EU changed on the 1st of July, which has caused some minor issues. Ultimately, it'll mean that we can't use the parcel force to send to Germany. We'll have to go, I think it's DHL, which is a bit more costly, which just means you may as well buy several t-shirts, jackets, whatever, to make the cost of shipping more worthwhile. So please check out the merchandise online as well.
100%.
Now some comments coming in here. Favourite whiskies.
Jordy on Instagram, I actually ordered some merch today. Excellent, Jordy. Thank you very much for doing that. I hope it fits when it arrives.
Here's an interesting one. Favourite of the night is a close call between the Kilkerran Heavily Peated and the Vintage. But I have to give it to the Vintage. Love the earthy tropical notes. Yeah, I absolutely understand where you're coming from there. The Vintage is refined, delicate, nuanced, very special in its own right. The Heavily Peated is just sort of bigger, bolder, in many ways. Yeah, I get that.
It'd be interesting to see. Comment below what was your favourite dram of the night. I want to see what everyone's thinking.
Ruth saying Kilkerran 8 for me and Longrow.
Q and Brown, love the winter hoodie. Really good quality. Massive kudos. Cheers, Q. Good to see you in London recently and at the Malts Festival as well. One of the regulars. We love Springbank Distillery with a love heart. That's great.
Gandhi sent 594 vintage. Best tonight, 18-year-old number 2. Bram, bang for the bucks. It's Kilkerran 8 for me.
Got Northwoods whiskey here. 18-year-old best ever.
Best ever 18-year-old or best ever whiskey?
18-year-old best ever. That's the comment. Iris from Germany. Hi, Iris. Good to have you on the live stream. Springbank 18 for yourself. Jordy, Springbank 18. That's great. So it's quite funny. It's not always the oldest whiskey that always wins, but if they're this quality in one tasting pack, so there's always going to be some special drams in there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
good that Kilkerran's getting a good thumbs up in the comments. You know, it's tough being the younger sibling to such an iconic older sibling that has things like Springbank 18s and vintages, and you're bringing along 8-year-old cast strengths and non-age statements. But I think that is very much Kilkerran's style. It's young, unapologetically good, just is what it is. Yeah. No nonsense.
Good bang for the buck.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to speak a little bit about upcoming sort of tours and tastings and travels that we've got for the rest of the year. Anyway, so
this is Andrew just looking up at the big whiteboard he's set up there and going, oh, I've not read everything on the whiteboard. So.
I've written it on the whiteboard, so it needs to be talked about on the tastings. So next month, August, we've got Whiskey Fringe in Edinburgh. I think that's the second week in August. And then in the UK at the end of the year, we've got Glasgow Whiskey Festival as well. Kendal Whiskey Festival will be great. Some other festival. I'm going down to Sheffield for the Seven Hills Whiskey Festival in September time. From there, as I said, we've got Paris, Salon du Gin, American trip, going to the Oslo Whiskey Festival in November as well. Whereabouts are you going?
Good question.
If you can remember.
North California in September. Washington State, Singapore for Whiskey Journey in November.
Spirits in the Sky will be there. Or David Wood will be there.
Yeah, we'll certainly have a presence there, Spirits in the Sky in Brussels. So, yeah, we'll be travelling far and wide. So, please come and say hello to us, and we'll hopefully have some drams to pour you.
Certainly will.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, I think that's a solid hour and a half. Well done for everyone for joining us. Thank you very much for participating.
For putting up with us for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Hope everyone enjoyed. 6 great whiskies.
Yeah, I think so. Good. All right. Thanks, everyone. Cheers, Andrew.
Cheers.
Andrew.